Welcome back to the REI Marketing Weekly. It's your host, Josh Culler. And today I'm joined once again by my good friend, Tony Javier, CEO of 10X TV. Tony, welcome back to the show, man. It hasn't been too long, but we got you back now.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, man. I love talking about marketing. I know you focus a lot on marketing, so it's one of my favorite things to talk about. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys haven't already, first of all, listen to the rest of this episode, but make sure you go back to the previous episode, whatever platform you're looking on. It'll be a few episodes back. We had Tony on and we talk very high level specifics about TV ads and marketing. If you're a real estate investor that's looking to run TV ads to attract motivated seller leads. So today we're gonna take it in a little bit of a different direction, but I still want to kind of get like a state of the union of where TV's at now. I actually asked this question to Tony before we started recording, and he said it's not really same old, same old. It's not changed much. But I think, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, that might be like good news. Even with the rise of AI and everything coming up, like a lot of different marketing tactics are getting very disrupted right now. So when you say it's same old, I think like consistency, like that's actually really good to hear that there's something that still works and still is like moving forward and getting leads coming through the door for investors. So, and I have a few other questions I think we can go through today that I remember I did not ask you about and wanted to get to at some point, but kind of like state of the union right now, where do you feel TV advertising is at? Is it still generating leads? Is it market per market? Like, are you seeing different market trends between like how leads are getting generated, quality of leads, stuff like that? So just talk to us about general where it's at.
Yeah, I'd love to update you. So first of all, you said consistent somewhere in there, and that's what TV gives you. Like if anybody says a marketing channel is consistent every single month, you're going to get deals and leads or you'll probably get leads every month, but you're going to get like the same amount of deals every single month. They're probably lying to you. But so I've been doing TV for 13 years now, 14 years for myself, right? And I wouldn't see myself ever turning it off, even when there's slow times. Like earlier this year, we had maybe a month or two where we maybe got one deal each month. And then, the next couple of months made up for it because we got, 2 to 3 deals each month. And so consistency is one thing that TV has over other channels. If you think about it like, PPL, right? PPL has been shaken up in the last year. There's more providers. They're buying, leads from different places. Sometimes they're selling them to multiple people. Costs have gone up. There's a lot of things with PPL that people have struggled with recently. PPC, same thing. PPC is a great lead source, but if Google changes their algorithm, if you get a couple big players in the market spending a bunch of money, you may have to either spend more money, you're going to get less leads, or you may just have to quit because it's not working anymore. We've heard that many times. Texting, cold calling, don't have to get into that because people know it's competitive and there are some regulations behind it where people are needing to drop off and things of that nature. Facebook, super hit and miss. Really, the only thing that's almost as consistent as TV and as good as TV is radio, which we help with our clients as well, and we've been doing for a few years as well. So I would say that just to update on TV would be that the ones that are working the leads are consistent with their ad spend, meaning that TV typically performs pretty quickly, but there are times when we launch people that it just takes a little while for it to start performing. But usually right away, even if it's not performing directly with a return on investment, if you're doing other marketing such as radio, postcards, Facebook ads, PPC, TV is still going to help those right off the bat. We see that credibility-wise, you're going to see that very quickly. ROI-wise, may take 2 or 3 months to start really popping some deals. Very rarely does it take up to 6 months, but the ones that have been slow in the first 6 months that have given it a chance, very rarely do they ever cancel because they've given it enough time to make sure that it works. The ones that really, I think, that it doesn't work for, or those that just don't give it enough time. Like even though sometimes or most of the time it does perform pretty quickly. So we've had clients for 5 years now that have ran the same commercial, that are still getting about the same amount of leads, that are closing about the same amount of deals, and it's just really performed for them. And let's talk about a couple of other things that we feel like we've finally gotten through to some of our clients on, and that year to year it can change, right? We've had clients that are like, man, I got a 7x return last year. Now I'm only getting a 3x return, right? That's going to happen. There's going to be fluctuations for whatever reason. But those that understand it know that even if you're getting a 3x return or a 2x return, which is actually for TV is not bad, but it's a little bit on the lower side for what most people want, they still don't understand how much impact it's having on their other marketing, what impact it's having on maybe contractors giving you better rates because they want to work with someone that is on TV and they know that you're credible and they know you're going to be getting more deals and things of that nature. You're able to raise private money easier. We've had multiple clients that are similar to me where they've run into somebody and somebody's like, oh, you're the TV person. And then you tell them what you do and then you tell them about private lending and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, you guys pay 9 to 10% interest on your loans. I'm only getting 2% of the bank or 5 to 7% in the stock market, which is more risky. And so there's just so many benefits outside of TV that even if you're not getting the 5 to 10x return that most of our clients are getting, even if you're getting like a 2x return, it's still usually worth it. And one thing also people aren't tracking, I'll say two more things. When people track their ROI, I don't think they even track it properly. So for instance, there was client we were talking to the other day. He's like, man, I'm only getting a 3 times return on investment. I was like, well, that's not bad. And like, talk about it. So he's like, well, we do have like 5 other deals that are going to close in the next couple months that are going to bring in another, 6 figures. I'm like, why are you not counting that? You've already spent the money to get those deals. So when I track my ROI, I estimate when I contract a deal. So let's say we're in July right now. Let's say I contract a deal in July, but I know I'm not going to make the money till September. I don't record it in September. I record it in July as an estimate. So usually we make over $30,000 per deal. I'll put a $25,000 mark on that deal just so I know where my ROI is at the time, because if you wait until your deals close, then your numbers are going to be completely off. Right.
And action-wise, you might shut it off before that deal closes because you say it doesn't work, or like because you haven't seen the results. It's not been on paper. Is that accurate too?
Exactly. And some people are like, man, I think, my SEO's gotten better. And I'm like, well, have you asked those people who've come through your website and made sure, and we tell them this in the beginning, but still sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other. Have you made sure that those leads are coming through are not TV leads? Because most of the time, and we're guilty of this as well, where someone will call in and they'll be like, we found you through Google. Oh, okay, great, awesome. So you went online, you Googled us, and they're supposed to ask some questions. But now we've started. Now that we've worked with so many clients, it's like not only are we going to say, oh, great, you heard us from Google. What did you Google? And kind of get some more information on what they were looking for. Oh, have you seen our TV commercial as well? Because even though they Googled you, they may have seen you on TV first,
right?
Or at the very least, you may need to give TV a little bit of credit if they called you from radio and you asked them, have you seen us on TV? And they're like, oh yeah, I've seen you on TV for the last 3 years. Well, you probably need to give TV at least a little bit of credit for that, or at least ask them, maybe did TV have an influence on you calling, So those are the things I can think of. I think, there's so much I've learned over the last 5 years from helping other real estate investors with their marketing. I can just say that almost every marketing channel works. It's how much do you spend? Are you doing it correctly? Are you working the leads correctly? And are you tracking your numbers correctly?
Yeah,
that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, for sure. And the last part of that, of like proper allocations to the marketing channel, I deal with that, as you know, in like social media and that world, the content marketing space, because very similarly, somebody could be watching like a social media video of a person, or, come across on YouTube a video of, Joe House Buyer talking about how to sell your inherited property, and then they call or they go to the website allocate that and say like, yeah, it was from Google. I Googled you, but what they were introduced to you by the YouTube video. But same thing can happen with TV, and especially like something that's been very interesting to me. And by the way, I did not know that you guys did a radio, so I want to talk about that in just a little bit. But one of the things with radio and TV that I find fascinating too is, and you use the example, like I've been watching on TV for 3 years or whatever, even if it's any amount of time, just because that ad hits somebody right now, the problem is that they may not be motivated right now. But the advantage of TV, and if you stay consistent with it, like you're saying, is that they got introduced to you when they weren't motivated. And then all of a sudden, when they become motivated, at that point, you're the first person they think about. Like, oh, I remember that guy. His name was like Tony or something on TV. And then they go look for you and find you, but it's because they saw a TV ad, and it reminded them of you because you were able to meet the needs that they were looking for. Because people remember that kind of stuff. So
that's actually a really good point. I want to touch on two things with that. One is we've had some people turn off TV and be like, it's kind of like in between. We want to put that money towards other things, whatever. Shut it off. We've had multiple people come back to us, sometimes even months later, and are like, we're still getting leads. Are you like, did you guys turn off TV? And then sometimes they'll come back and be like, gosh, we got a bunch of deals the last, month or 2 months or 3 months since we've been off. And then they turn it back on. And so just like what you said, it's, sometimes they'll remember you and then Google you. If it goes too far, they may not remember you, which is a good point. Again, you may hit the person that has the $100,000 deal now.
Yeah.
But if you turn TV off 6 months from now, they may forget who you are.
Yep. And
try and find you, not find you, and find your competitor. And then, what was my other thought on that was, so an example would be, I had a lender who has been sending me messages for, I don't know, at least the last 6 or 12 months. And I've just been ignoring them because I haven't really needed to raise any more money. And then lately I'm like, man, we're keeping a lot of rental properties. I think I need to find another lender. And sure as heck, I get another text message and phone call from that lender. And had they not texted me and called me again this month, I might have just forgot about them, even though they called me last month.
Yeah.
So consistency is super key. And even if you're not getting a big return on it now, if you stay consistent, if you know the returns have been there before, just keep with it, because we've gone from a 5x return to the next year a 12x return, all the way back down to a 3 to 4 times return, right?
Yep.
And so there's going to be fluctuations. You just have to play the long game.
Interrupting this podcast episode to tell you guys that this podcast is managed and produced by Color Media Productions. Yes, shameless plug, that's my company. However, we do this for a lot of other people as well. Most people that we work with are in the real estate investing space. So if you're listening to this podcast specifically, you probably are a real estate investor, given it's called the REI Marketing Weekly. If you're somebody that either wants to start a podcast or you have one going and it's becoming a little bit of a hassle, you're looking to transition to somebody that works a little bit better with a fluid motion in terms of you get the recordings done and then they do everything else. Well, that's what we do. We do fully managed podcasts from start to finish, video, audio, show noting, the graphics, publishing, everything that goes into it. It's a full service business that we run here in a service for you as a real estate investor if you are running a podcast. Additionally, we also do social media and YouTube management as well. So all of that being on the organic side, if you are interested in learning more about working with us and just recording content with guidance and strategy set by myself personally, and then not doing anything else after that, where we're taking care of everything from start to finish, then make sure you go check us out at colormedia.com, CULLER media.com. Hit us up there and we can learn more about working together, hop on a phone call and see what we could do for you. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I find interesting, and it's very prevalent, and you've been in the real estate space longer than I have, but I've been in the real estate space for 13 years. And then the amount of time that I've been in this industry, I think it's kind of a little bit of a toxic trait in real estate investors. Like they start to set this like standard of 5 or 6x return on their marketing. And then when they drop down to that 3 or 4x, they start to panic and freak out. And obviously we want that. We want to strive for the higher X numbers. But realistically in marketing, no matter what channel you're doing, it's not realistic to think that you're 100% going to be plateaued for the next 10 years that you run this marketing channel, whether it be TV or Facebook ads or direct mail or whatever it is, like it is going to fluctuate. Now, obviously we don't want to drop below like the 2x or the 1x, but even if you're doing 2x, you're still doubling your money on the marketing that you're spending, right? And it's not a license to lower your standards, but it's an understanding of the way that marketing works. Is when that number does drop, now we got to reanalyze and figure out why is it low, and not just shut it off, but figure out how to get it back to where we want it. And there's a lot of things that impact those numbers. So with what Tony's saying, I mean, consistency is it's not sexy, but it is like the actual number one key factor when it comes to any marketing across the board for the reasons we've talked about. Now, one pivot that I want to make is to radio. I know that's a different direction that we were talking about going, but again, I actually didn't know that you guys did radio. So, I've not really talked about radio in any way. Like I've never had a guest on the show to talk about radio. So I'm fascinated in the next conversation that we have about the way this works. So generally speaking, is like comparing it to, because I think TV ads are a little bit more well known in the way that they work and how, to get it started up and all that sort of thing. In terms of radio versus TV, are there similarities? Is it completely different? Like, what's the process of getting a TV or a radio ad campaign going? How much can you allocate to it from a budget standpoint? How often do the ads go out and that sort of thing? So give us like the radio marketing 101 structure here.
Yeah, so radio is very similar to TV in the fact that it's mass media. So you're hitting a lot of people with I don't want to say small ad spend. Sometimes it's small. And when I say small, most markets you can get away with about a $7,000 a month ad spend. 7 to 10, most markets is a hefty ad spend. You could spend 20 to 30 to 40 grand in most of those markets if you wanted to, but to start out, there's some markets that are even small enough to spend 5 grand. So the ad spend, when you compare it to something like direct mail, like if you do a direct mail drop, I don't know too many people that are spending less than about $5,000 on a direct mail drop, unless it's like a super niche list, right? So it's mass media, it's credibility. It's not quite as much credibility as TV, and that's probably where the big difference is. Because with TV, it's visual. People can see it. They can see you. And so they feel like they know you, like you, and trust you. Well, usually like you if you connect with them. Know you, like you, and trust you because they see you on TV, right? With radio, very similar. They don't see you. So there's a little bit of maybe a little bit more of a disconnect from a physical standpoint. But they pair really well together. So my thing on kind of switching over to what you said with, 2x is not bad. And even sometimes if you're breaking even, my philosophy now is that because I'm doing TV, radio, and all these things, if I have a channel that is breaking even, I'm okay with that as long as it's building impressions. So like, for instance, Facebook, we didn't make a ton of money the last few years. We actually shut it off last year. And then I started to look at the data. I'm like, gosh, we're getting like a two times return, but we're getting like hundreds of thousands of impressions, if not, it might have been over 1 million impressions every year, and probably tens of thousands a month for sure. So that's just another way to get in front of our clients. And that's hard to Facebook's really hard to measure because, they may see that message 100 times on Facebook, but it was the TV commercial that was that extra last thing that made them call, right? Direct mail, and same thing with direct mail. If you're sending out, let's say 10,000 pieces a month, or let's say on the low end, let's say if you're spending, sending 2,000 to 3,000 postcards a month, there's still a lot of people that keep those postcards. We've had people call us from campaigns we did 2 to 3 years before. And so not only is that building more impressions with them seeing the postcards in their hand, but it's also something tangible that they have in their hand that they may potentially down the road call. And we just got 2 deals off of a postcard that we sent like 2 years ago. And so just remember that you're building those touches, and those touches are things that are going to possibly perform down the road. And that's why I like the long game. That's why I like omnipresence marketing, which means try and be everywhere you possibly can, because the more places you are, the more likely they're going to trust you. Because think about it, if you just see a random billboard and that's it, if you know the company, maybe you might call them. But if you see the billboard, then you see them on TV, then you're driving, you hear them on radio, and then you see Facebook, you see an ad pop up, you're like, man, this company, it's like this company, is spending a lot of money. And that's the perception with TV that you get as well, is that, people are spending a lot of money. Like when I thought people were spending money on TV before I got on TV, I thought it was like tens of thousands of dollars a month. And if someone would have asked me not too long before I got on TV, like, would you want to do TV? And I'd be like, I'm not a big enough business. I can't spend that much money. But then someone connected me with one of their reps and they're like, it's not as expensive as you think. Spent $3,000 my first month and made over $30,000. And so there's that perception that TV is expensive, which keeps people out of it. And so if you know how to do it, you can figure it out, and you are willing to take the jump, it can really pay off.
Yeah, and with the omnipresence, that mentioning that is especially, and you can again preach to this more than I can, but especially when you are a very local. I mean, real estate is a local industry; it's a local market, and if you are somebody that's very niched into your like specific area, like you're not nationwide, you're very localized, whether that be just one town or that's like a county or whatever that is. If you become omnipresent in all of those different facets, so TV, radio, Facebook ads, and you're geo-targeting people in those specific areas, that's what I think Tony's leaning into a lot here. That's, I think needs to be taken advantage a lot more from people. Like you said, like the more places you can be in front of people, those impressions do make a difference, and they do help push people to the edge. Whether it appears that it does or not, and that's again where we go back to the conversation of consistency, because if you consistently market on all these channels, like how is your competitor going to be able to keep up with you? And not just because you're spending $50,000 a month on your marketing, you could, like Tony said, get away with less than $10,000 a month and be spread out across all of these if you're niche or focused enough in your market. And back on the radio thing, like definitely I know that the demographics, and this is probably why you guys do both, but the demographics are probably the exact same of radio and TV. Would that be accurate to make that statement?
Yeah. Demographics across pretty much every marketing channel should be very similar. That, it's an older demographic. In fact, I'll share a study with you from something we saw last year. So we target older people, and when I say older people, 55 plus, lower income. And so, gosh, I wish I had the stats with me. I'm going to try and remember, but there was a study for 55 people old and older, households 150,000 or less, which is our demographic. They were asked what TV did for them. So actually, their first question was, when you did an online search, what triggered you to do an online search? And I think it was like 90% of people said it was TV commercials that they had asked. Wow. Then they asked them, how much TV do you watch per day? So I don't know about you, but when I watch TV, sometimes I'm thinking I'm watching TV for an hour. I'm probably watching it for like 3 hours, Yeah. And so on average, that person said that they were watching 2.5 hours of regular TV every single day. So our target demographic is 55 and older, 150,000 or less for their house. Unless you're in San Diego, of course, then that might be like more like 500 to 700,000 at the low end. And that's why TV does really well, is because it hits our target demographic. And I challenge you, real estate investors that are listening, when you go into seller appointments, pay attention to the TV. It's probably on almost every time you go to a seller appointment.
Watching the news or ESPN or probably like Fox or CNN or something like that.
Even if they're cooking or something like that, they're listening to it in the background,
Yeah.
So
interesting insight. No, that those stats are kind of interesting. That is crazy that high of a percentage in that demographic are searching on the web based off of what they saw on TV.
I mean, I figured that was a pretty big number. I didn't realize it was that big of a number, but it makes sense. And I'm sure a lot of like markets, I mean, maybe that's something you can speak on too. A lot of markets, I think like Midwest or Southern markets, they're probably consuming a lot more regular TV, and then that's impacting them. Would that be accurate to say that?
It's hard to say. I think, yeah, it's really hard to say. I would say that, like, let's say San Diego, for instance, we still have clients in San Diego that do well, but the weather is good year round. So people are outside year round. People are more active. So TV might be watched a little bit less than, like you said, a Midwest market where people aren't quite as active. They're inside more. So yeah, you're probably right with the Midwest part of it. Because, you know, when my wife moved to Kansas, which was like for a day or two before she's like, get me out of here. She's like, people don't do much around here. And she's like, are there hiking trails? And I'm like, oh, there's a bike trail we could go on. And we go on the bike trail. It's literally like a ghost town. There's literally nobody on this bike trail. And then we see the parks. There's literally no one in the parks. People are inside watching TV. They're inside socializing. They're going to restaurants if they're meeting up. So yeah, now that you mentioned that, I would say Midwest markets probably do watch a little bit more TV. South, maybe even a little more. But I would say the places where, you know, there's outdoors, there's, you know, good weather year round, maybe it doesn't do quite as well.
That's what I think about, you know, because like, and I know it's kind of an odd topic to kind of go into, but like where I live right outside Chicago, I mean, we've had a really nice week this week. I mean, it's like 81 degrees, so it's perfect right now. But pretty much from mid-November all the way through pretty much April, it's freezing cold. So people stay in, even I, like, sometimes it's hard for me to get out to just go to the gym, which is like 90 seconds down the road from my house, just because there's either snow on the ground or it's, you know, below zero or whatever. And I'm an able-bodied 32-year-old. And I have a couple of neighbors that are older, and when it's winter, I hardly ever see them out. And then during the summer, when it's like, we call it scorching hot, but if it's anything over like 90, you still don't see people out because it's too hot here. We're not used to hot weather. So to us, 90 is hot. And so you still don't see, like, you could go to a bike trail or, you know, a walking trail, whatever, and there'll be nobody out. When it's like this, then it is. But we only have like, I don't know, maybe like less than 30% of our year is actually really nice weather where it's outdoors weather, where if you have kids, you're taking them outside and that sort of thing. So that's what I think about too, is, and that probably impacts numbers as well. But anyway, this has been, I know we've like kind of gone all over the place with some of these, but the conversations have been absolutely fantastic and really good insight that I think a lot of listeners should take away and not just apply like TV. I know we talk about TV a little bit, but almost everything that we talk about applies to whatever marketing it is that you're doing in general. So I appreciate all this, man. This has been good. I will definitely have you back again soon. I want you to be able to talk about 10X TV though. So how people can get a hold of you. Well, first of all, who could use 10X TV? How can they use it? And then how they can get a hold of you to learn more about working with you guys.
Yeah, so TV, we only allow so many people per market. So we do have quite a few sold out markets. So if you want to see if TV is still available in your market and you want to apply for one of those spots, you can go to 10xtv.co, not .com, 10xtv.co. And TV is perfect for pretty much anybody who wants deals. I would say the perfect avatar is someone that is already doing deals, maybe 3 to 5 deals a month, or I would say at least 3 deals a month. If someone's spending money on postcards and at least 2 other campaigns, I would say it's almost a no-brainer. You know, when I see an application come through and someone is doing, you know, say at least a couple deals a month, they're spending at least 10 grand a month in marketing. It's almost a no-brainer. We have had some new investors come with us. In fact, we have one I just saw on our sheet the other day. She came to us 4 years ago, and she'd only done a few deals like texting and cold calling. And she's like, I just don't have time to text and cold call. She was actually working a full-time job at the time. And we got her on TV, and here she is 4 years later, still doing deals and still I think she's still at her full-time job. She might have quit by now. I haven't talked to her in quite a while. My team communicates with her often, but yeah, even newer investors, it might be worth having a conversation with us because we are a little more picky now. We want those that we feel like we know are going to work the deals. There's no reason for us to spend the time and energy to get someone on TV if we feel like they're not going to work the deals. But if you can work the deals, you can make things happen on your side. It's almost a no-brainer to not at least explore, and usually a no-brainer to take advantage of it as long as your market's available. And there's bigger markets that are just really expensive that just doesn't make sense for some people. But like I said, if your budget is at least $7,000 a month and you can afford that, there's no reason not to explore it and maybe give it a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Tony. So guys, once again, that's 10xtv.co. We'll have that link down in the description below and ways you can get a hold of the 10x team and Tony. Tony, I appreciate you coming on, man. This is the second time recently, but I look forward to having you back again soon. We'll go a little bit deeper into some of these other topics for sure.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Enjoyed it.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the show. If you haven't already, also make sure you do go check out all the links down below. Connect with me on social media and my YouTube channel. I'm putting out a lot of content about content and upping your social media, podcasting, YouTube strategies from an organic side. So make sure you go look me up on YouTube as well, and that will be linked down below. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.